Hi there, and welcome to Queer Stories. Sorry it's been a while since I made a video. I had a lot going on, various different difficulties in my personal life, and I apologize at the beginning of this video that I've just had a gum graft and I have like stitches all on the inside of my mouth, and so if I feel like I'm talking a little bit funny or whatever, then that's because I have a mouth full of stitches right now, so please forgive me for that. But I did want to try and take the time to make a video this week because there's something very interesting going on. In my last video where I was talking about the Untamed, somebody said, oh, you should watch Word of Honor. And at the time I had tried a few times to watch that show, and I sort of did a stop and start, and I'll talk about that in a second. But then last week, this huge controversy erupted with one of the main actors from this show. And so I thought, like, well, this will be a good moment to kind of tie those two things together and talk about how interesting it is the, not just the show Word of Honor, but also this kind of controversy that happened and how the government kind of can cancel people in China in a very scary way. So let's talk about Word of Honor today. So Word of Honor is a Chinese BL drama, one of these ancient Chinese dramas that kind of mixes together this like idea of magic and these clans and all of those sort of typical elements that you'll see in an ancient Chinese drama like The Untamed. Like many of these Asian dramas, Word of Honor has a kind of complicated plot that has many different elements and lots of different characters and different clans, and they're all kind of like, introduced to you at the beginning of the show in a way that's a little bit overwhelming, and you're like, oh my god, like I have no idea what's going on. And so definitely when I first watched this show, I was a little bit confused by the overall story. Like I had a general idea that there's this magical object that all of these clans are trying to get so that they can have access to this place that's supposedly a vault that has like something great inside of it. So that was the general premise of the show. But because there were so many different characters and all these different competing kind of elements in it, it was a little bit difficult for me to understand at the beginning. And I've watched a few Chinese dramas now, so of this ancient variety. So, obviously I've seen The Untamed because I did a video about that, but I've watched Legend of Fae, and I made an attempt at watching Dolo, a Continent, but I couldn't make it through that show. Sorry, Xiao-Chan. I hated that show. So yeah, I've watched Legend of Fae, and then of course now Word of Honor. So I have watched a few Chinese dramas, and I feel like they all have this thing where they all have these really complicated characters and plot lines, and then they tend to overwhelm you with everything at the beginning, and then they drip feed you little bits of information that help you to understand the story over time. And so when I recommend an ancient Chinese drama to anyone, I always say you have to make it past the first 5 or 10 episodes before you decide for yourself whether this is a good show or not, because in those first 5 or 10 episodes, you're just going to be confused. And if you just say to yourself, it's okay that I'm confused because I will understand this all later, then it makes it a lot easier to watch. So that being said, the interaction between the two main actors in the show and the way that they portrayed the two main characters was really great. And so I really did enjoy watching this show. So the two main actors are Gong Jun, who played Wen Kexin, and Zhang Zhehan, who played Zhou Jishu. I have a particular fondness for Gong Jun because I've actually seen Gong Jun in another BL drama that he made called Advance Bravely. And Advance Bravely was like really spicy, like woo! But it actually got yanked off the air before it finished airing because it was too spicy. And so I had kind of fallen in love with Gong Jun after watching that show because he's just like a big puppy. And, he's... You wouldn't believe how tall he is because he looks tiny, right? Like he's just got that kind of cute little face, and who couldn't love this smile, right? Like, honestly. So although I knew Gong Jun already, Zhang Zhehan was actually new to me as an actor. He wasn't new to the industry though. He's been around for quite a while and he's acted in many different things. It just wasn't anything that I had seen before. So Zhang Zhehan has actually been acting since 2010, so he's definitely been around quite a while. And I knew him from Word of Honor, and then I also knew him because he acted with Ibo in something this year, and we'll actually return to talk about that a little bit later in the clip. But what I thought was funny was there was this clip of Jean-Jahan complimenting Yibo on his dancing and basically being a little bit of an Yibo fanboy, which I thought was hilarious and very cute. So back to Word of Honor. My verdict on the story is, in terms of my 2 cents, I think it was a good drama. I really enjoyed the interactions between the 2 main characters, but the story was just a little bit too convoluted to me. And I did not love the ending. And it wasn't the ending itself that I didn't like. I felt like we were leading up to this ending for a while. And I should preface this by saying that I did not read the book before watching the show. So even though I didn't know what the ending was going to be, I had a sense of where the ending was going. And so I wasn't shocked by the ending. I'm not going to say what the ending was for those of you that haven't seen the show yet, because I'm recommending you to go and watch the show. But what I will say is that there was a kind of a shock factor to the ending, but then they just cut it off like that. And I kind of wish that after that shock factor that they took a little bit of time to let us process those emotions and showed us what the characters felt and how they reacted afterwards. And instead there was just this like fast forward to the future thing that lasted like half a second. And so I just felt like it was a missed opportunity to really sort of like feel those emotions and digest that as an audience. I felt like that was a missed opportunity. So I wish that they had given like an extra 20 minutes of show after that ending to go through that stuff. So even though I didn't love the ending, I still would recommend the show. I don't think it was anywhere close to The Untamed in terms of like, I'm not going to watch this thing 10 times. Maybe I'll watch it twice, but I'm definitely not watching this show 10 times. So I still don't think it was as good as The Untamed. But if nothing else, I would definitely watch it for those interactions between Wen Kexin and Zhou Xishu. It was really, really cute. And, I did feel like in terms of the BL content, it was more overt than the Untamed. So like they kind of got away with more gay stuff, for want of a better way to say it, like more things. And you can actually watch, interpretations of the show that have been done by native Chinese speakers who will tell you that there are moments where they even dubbed over their lines where they had actually used even more overtly gay lines, and then they sort of dubbed over them with something a little bit more tame. So you could tell that like it went through this review process that did strip out some of the gay content. But still, it was a little bit more gay than what you saw with The Untamed. And I had some people that were asking me like, oh, why is that? How is this show so gay? How did it make it past the Chinese censors? And from what I heard, because Word of Honor was not billed as like they have this rating system of like how good they think the show is going to be before they actually put it out. And if it's like not billed as like a AAA or whatever, I can't remember how the rating system goes, but if it's not like billed in that category, it doesn't get as much marketing and it's not like on the front page. So when Word of Honor first came out, it was a little bit more subtle in terms of its marketing. And so because it wasn't like, so heavily marketed, that they could get away with a little bit more gay content. That's what I heard. So I don't think it's necessarily that they're loosening some of the restrictions, although I hope that over time, as we see more BLs come out and as we see this become more mainstream, I do hope that we will be able to have more queer content without it being censored out. But I definitely think there's got to be a journey there. Like they're not just going to remove restrictions from one day to the next and then we're going to see the same sorts of content that we have in the West. I think it's going to take a while before those restrictions go away. But in the meantime, I think the creators of BL dramas are really doing a good job in trying to preserve the feelings and emotions from the original works and to get across that they are two guys in love without breaking the rules. And so they do manage to do that. And I think Word of Honor was really a pleasure to watch for those kind of little queer interactions. So I would still recommend it. So now I want to talk about what happened with Zhang Zhehan. So as I mentioned, he was one of the lead actors and he played Zhou Xishu in the show. So I wanted to talk about what happened because there was a huge controversy last week and it really showed the extreme rapidity of changes that happen in people's fortunes in the entertainment industry in China. just like with The Untamed, Word of Honor propelled these two leading actors to stardom. So yes, they both acted before the show, and yes, they had some fans before the show, but if you compare how many fans they had before Word of Honor to how many fans they had after Word of Honor, like, it was a huge jump. So they definitely, propelled upwards because of their success in this drama. And you could see this also in the star rankings. And so if you look at the star rankings, Gong Jun and Zhang Zhehan were nowhere to be seen prior to Word of Honor. And then all of a sudden they were up at number 6, and then up at number 4, and then they were up at number 3. Like, I don't think they ever quite displaced Wang Yibo and Xiao Chan, who were always kind of up around number 1 and 2 for the past 2 years almost, I guess. But they were definitely up there, and they were right up at the top of the rankings. And then also we saw them, all of a sudden they were in all of these endorsements, right? So all of these companies wanted them to be the face of their brands. And so we saw them picking up endorsements left and right, showing up on variety shows as you usually do when you're promoting a drama, but definitely, because their drama was really popular, they were on more shows than you would necessarily expect. And there was a CP topic that was created on Weibo for the two main actors. Once again, I don't think it ever displaced the CP from The Untamed, but correct me if I'm wrong there. But it was still a popular CP. From the sidelines, me as a watcher of this happening, even though I hadn't sort of caught up with the show yet, I thought to myself, these two have made it. Like, they're set for life now, because they've just done such a great job and they have such a good fan following. They're going to be good now. They're set. Boy, was I wrong. Oh my goodness. Boy, was I wrong. Last week, in August of 2021, Jean-Jahan went to a friend's wedding in Japan, is how I understood it. And while he was there, he took some photographs at a place called the Yasukuni Shrine. And in case you don't know, this is a controversial shrine worldwide. Okay, so this is not just controversial in China, but worldwide, the Yasukuni Shrine is a controversial war monument, because it's a war monument that celebrates Japanese war heroes from World War II. One person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, right? And if you look at Japan in World War II, Japan was allied with Germany in World War II, and so they were on the wrong side. I mean, I'm using wrong in air quotes, even though obviously I think it was the wrong side. So in Japan, these so-called war heroes are actually, if you look at the rest of the world, they're known as war criminals, because Japan did a lot of really horrible things, particularly in Asia, prior to and during World War II. They committed atrocities in China, in Korea. This is a black mark on the history of Japan. And I say this as somebody that I lived in Japan for a year. I adore Japan. I think it's a wonderful country and it's full of amazing people. But they're different than Germany, because like in Germany, they acknowledge all of the war crimes that happened, and they teach their kids in school what happened to try and prevent it from happening again. So it's actually illegal in Germany to be a Holocaust denier. You have to talk about the Holocaust in Germany, and you have to teach the young people about it. Contrary to that, in Japan, they often are deniers of what happened in the Second World War. And, they like to rewrite history a little bit. And I don't know why or how this happened, but if you look at some of the more recent prime ministers of Japan, they will try and sweep some things under the rug, so to speak. And so this is one of the reasons why the Yasukuni Shrine is particularly seen in a negative light, is because it's sort of saying that some people are heroes and these same people committed atrocities when you look at it from the lens of the people who were actually fighting against in World War II. So I think it would have been controversial for anyone to go to this shrine, and I think other people have gotten in trouble in the past for going to this shrine, but I can only imagine that for a Chinese star to go to this shrine is like 10 times worse, because of the fact that China was a victim of Japan's atrocities in World War II. And also just because of the way China views its stars and its idols. in China, they definitely view stars as idols in the sense of the original meaning of the word idol, where it's like somebody that you look up to, that you idolize, that you worship. Like, stars in China are meant to be good role models for society, and they're not allowed to be human. They're not allowed to like make mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, if you see, if a Chinese idol makes a mistake, they're not often given the opportunity to correct that mistake or to apologize. They're just canceled. And we talk about cancel culture in the West, but cancel culture in the West don't got nothing on what they do in China. Zhang Zhehan did try to apologize. He went on social media and he said he was sorry for his ignorance. But I think a lot of people didn't believe that apology or didn't accept that apology because the idea of somebody being ignorant of the significance of this shrine is pretty shocking or unbelievable. You know, like I knew what the Yasukuni Shrine was just from my exposure to pop culture. Like, surely he must have known what that shrine meant. Like, he went there in person. Like, he must have known what it meant. So I think a lot of people did not accept his apology at face value. So let's talk about how Zhang Zhehan got cancelled in China. After these photographs were circulated, Zhang Zhehan was quickly removed from public life. So first of all, his endorsements started to drop him like a hot potato. So overnight, all of these endorsements that he had raked up after Word of Honor went boom, 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 boom. We're dropping him. We're no longer associating our brand with this guy. Next, his Weibo topic was shut down. His CP topic with Gongjun was shut down. And on August 19th, Word of Honor was taken down from Youku, and then it was briefly put back up again, and then I believe it's down again now. And so they just removed it from there completely. On top of that, other platforms started removing other dramas that he had acted in the past. So iQIYI took down Blooms at Rui Pavilion and Legend of Yunxi. Youku took down Banshu Legend, Word of Honor itself, and the Word of Honor concert. Tencent took down Cosmetology. And then some fans reported that some variety show episodes featuring Zhang Zhehan were also taken down. So on top of that, remember I mentioned earlier that Zhang Zhehan acted with Wang Yibo this year in a show called Formed Police Unit. Well, what I've heard is that they're actually going to be removing him from Formed Police Unit as well, even though the show hasn't aired yet. And so, like, they're going to have to either delete scenes with him in it, or they're going to have to, like, reshoot them, or they're going to do some face replacement digitally to remove him from the show. I don't know yet which it is, but if all things go according to rumor, then he will be removed from that show as well. So basically, overnight, he started out 2021 as like an okay actor, and then he shot to popularity with Word of Honor, and he was like, you know, superstar. And then now he is completely removed from public life, like erased. Like somebody just erased him from public life entirely. So do I think that it was right of him to visit Yasukuni Shrine? No, I don't. But do I think he deserved to be canceled? No, I don't think he deserved that. I don't know the guy. I'm not his fan. I haven't researched him. I haven't followed all his stuff. But I would like to think that anybody deserves the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and to acknowledge that they made a mistake and to apologize for it. And I think like him being canceled so quickly, there was no attempt at an apology to even be made, right? Like he was just wiped out overnight. But I'm not Chinese, and so I don't have that additional cultural context to offer to say whether or not this person should deserve to give an apology. I mean, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's a horrible person and he should be canceled. I don't know. It just seems so abrupt to me. And then also from the outside, it is a little bit scary to think about how quickly the Chinese government can just erase somebody like they never even existed. And then you have to wonder, how many times before has the Chinese government done this? How many times have they erased somebody? To be so good at it, to be able to do it overnight like that. It's a little bit scary. So in summary, if you did want to watch Word of Honor, you can still watch it. It is still on Netflix and it is still on YouTube, and I'll put the YouTube link up here. So you can still go and give it a look. If you're not personally offended or horrified by the idea that Zhang Zhehan did visit the Yasukuni Shrine, then you can give it a watch, and let me know what you think about this whole controversy in the comments. Do you think he should have been cancelled, or do you think he should have been given a second chance? Let me know what you think. All right, I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye. Where are you going? Sorry. Attack of the Tiny. Everyone, here's Tiny Cat for her weekly cameo in the video. Actually, one of my cats just passed away last week. So it's new to us being a 2-cat household. So I think the cats that are left are kind of following me around everywhere that I go, because Gautier is gone, and we're all kind of getting used to what life looks like without Gautier here. So, these poor cats. It's hard, you know, when you have a dynamic in your household, and then the dynamic definitely changes when one of the cats is gone. And you can't really explain to the cats, like, why the other cat's not coming home anymore. That's very sad. But we'll make it work. Oh, she just wants a cuddle.